Well, hello, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Jobu, and as always, thank you guys for watching, commenting, and subscribing to the Jobu Sports Report. Without you guys, this literally does not work. Let's get open for business here, and let's wake up the football gods as we need those guys right now. Okay, so what may be some good news for all of us NFL fans. The NFL and the NFLPA are talking about the collective bargaining agreement. And instead of letting this one expire at the end of the 2020 season, they've actually been meeting a little bit here and there, and they have now set up a meeting July 17th, 18th, and 19th, 3 days, where they're going to try and hammer out a deal before the end of the agreement, which would be the wise thing because you don't want to kill the goose that made all the golden eggs. You don't want to disenfranchise all of us fans that are literally living and dying on a daily basis by having a lockout or a strike. You guys, there's more than enough money to go around. Because what happened with the last collective bargaining agreement after it expired and they ended up having the lockout and everything else, it ended up being that they ended up doing this thing on a rush. The NFLPA gave up way too much power to Roger Goodell, okay? And which is one of the reasons why he's the judge, jury, and executioner, and why us Dallas Cowboy fans, well, it seems like we get the short end of the stick. And on the flip side of this, because the NFL, of course, was trying to toss the NFL players, a bone. They kind of had the veteran players that were part of the negotiation kind of lead what they were doing as far as training camp, which led to shorter training camp. It did away with two-a-day practices. It ended up being less work during the off season. And to me, directly or indirectly, however you want to look at it, has changed the play on the field. Because you're no longer actually allowed to tackle people in practice, because you don't have but 11 padded practices during training camp and then 11 during the season, to me, a lot of the fundamentals have actually been taken out of the game. And I don't have a study. This is one of those things that I believe it's true because you're not able to work on the fundamentals, actually tackling and things like that, that you see so many players that take bad angles that end up, instead of tackling with skill, end up more of just trying to deliver a blow, headshots and things. See, the way I was taught, and I'm sure most football players were, is the way you tackle. We did form tackling drills. What you're trying to do is get your head across the body and wrap up and drive through the person, through their torso. And if you're tackling a person like that, you're not getting the head trauma. But how many times do we see where a guy is just running and just trying to use his helmet and just deliver that blow? He gets up woozy. That player gets up woozy. Everybody gets woozy. Or they miss. And as a result, I think some of the game has actually suffered. The other thing is I think about my hands and my feet. Um, People, you'll see me cooking. You'll see me pick up something hot. Just like, no problem. No, it doesn't bother me. Why? Because my body has gotten used to it. My hands, I'm used to sticking my hand in some concrete and mixing it without gloves and things like that. Or, and things. And my wife will say my hands are kind of rough, but I like to have that natural feel of things. But because I've done it so often that my hands are used to that abuse, they're used to it. They know how to recover. They have evolved into being able to take that abuse to the point where I don't even notice it. I can be walking along because I'm so used to dealing with pain. I can have a cut and blood's running down. I don't even notice it because I'm used to it. Not that I'm saying that it's right, but it's the same thing in football that you build up getting used to getting hit. But when you only have those 11 padded practices, which really aren't at full speed, where you're not really tackling people, then you go to Sunday and you're going full speed, it's like your body hasn't really trained for it. You can ride the bike, you can run and all that, but nothing trains you for football other than actually hitting in football. And that's one of those things that I would honestly, and NFL players, don't get pissed at me, but I would honestly like to see a little bit more practice, because then we don't start the beginning of the season where teams are using the first couple of games of the season as preseason. They've had time to actually implement a system. They have time to work on it and get the timing down. You end up having a better product on the field. So this is great news that if they're working right now where they've got all of this year and then the next year to get this deal done, it behooves both of them to get it done, because you don't want to have a work stoppage. You don't want to have us fans find something else to do. Yeah, like that would happen. But you know what I'm saying. Um, Other news, we know Zeke Elliott is going to see the NFL commissioner. One other thing I will put in there is, it's the deal will be a give and take, and I think the give before was shortened off-season, workouts, shortening training camp. That was the gift to the players. And if you're an NFL veteran, you're like, man, I don't want to practice. This is cool. And I think the gift will be is kind of letting the marijuana testing go out of the way. And one other point I will point into this is Jerry Jones is actually active in all of the negotiations in this as well. So it'll be interesting to see how this all works out. And this may be Jerry Jones working on his legacy, making it even bigger, to say, you know what, I ended up helping to negotiate labor peace for the next 10 years or however long the agreement will be, to save the cash cow for all the owners. But I think the give will be is the marijuana testing. I think the NFL will get out of that business a bit, but we'll have to wait and see. But in other news, of course, Zeke Elliott is going to New York. We don't know what time his meeting is. It may have already happened. He may have already been out of town, but we haven't heard anything just yet. So if we do hear anything, we'll be the first to let you know as soon as we hear something. Other than that, guys, we're all on a waiting list right now to see what we're going to see. I'm Mark Holmes, sitting here 65 days, 3 hours, 43 minutes, and 15 seconds away from kickoff of the 2019 season. I'll see you guys soon.